EA's official Skate FAQ is very clear about what 2025's new early access iteration represents for the series as a whole. This isn't a sequel, remake, or a remaster, it's the evolution of the Skate franchise, states the brief explanation. The first part I wholeheartedly agree with. This is not Skate 4, and it certainly isn't a remake of the originals by any stretch of the imagination. The second part is not entirely untrue either. It is an evolution of sorts. That is, it's certainly changed. A lot. Unfortunately, this means this new version of Skate bears little semblance to the late 2000s originals I love, and I'm currently finding it impossible to warm to its sanitized, homogenized, and monetized reinvention. Yes, Skate has evolved dramatically, but it's done so to blend into its free-to-play service game-dominated surroundings, like moths in the sooty cities of the British Industrial Revolution. I don't think I've ever compared a game to an insect before, but perhaps it makes sense when I find it this repellent. Before I get too deep into why it's off-putting, there are a couple of true strengths that I can identify in Skate's early access launch. The first of which are the sound effects. When it comes to capturing the nuanced array of skateboarding sounds, the hiss of spinning wheels, the friction of plywood on varied surfaces, and the clink of metal on metal, the team has done a terrific job. It must also be established that the feel of Skate, when you're on a board at least, is still supreme. I adore the wild arcade wackiness of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and I respect the punishing twin-stick precision required by the likes of skate sims like Session, but Skate's controls are my jam. Just about everything I crave is wrapped up in its approachable yet deceptively deep system. Tricks on the right stick, turning on the left, grabs on the triggers, and grinds on how good you are at lining them up. Now, the new Skate doesn't quite look and feel identical to the older games. Turning appears a little stiffer and probably lacks a bit of the more pronounced and organic lean from the early Skate games. Grind assist is also considerably too sticky by default, and there's definitely jankiness present in the transition skating. I'm experimenting with the pump settings, but I haven't quite cracked a consistent solution to always getting the momentum I want and not getting randomly bogged down. Skitching is absent, and there are some other missing tricks. Overall, however, it's entirely familiar enough to be instantly intuitive to me as a returning player. At a minimum, Skate has done a fine job of reconstructing that buttery, legacy street skating feel from the original games. That's an important thing to bring back if you're going to use the classic name. Unfortunately, that's all it brought back. Making Skate an exclusively online experience was an immediate and utter mistake. During my first session on the day of its early access launch, I was unceremoniously disconnected during a random challenge and kicked out of the map back to the main menu. The error message here was comically emblematic of my thoughts on the overall situation. Something went wrong. Yes, something clearly went wrong with Skate, but it went wrong long before I started playing. I am, of course, aware that server problems and queues are typical of day one of a new online game, although I am still waiting in queues the week after launch. The community has come to accept this compromise as the opposite side of the free-to-play coin. For me, this is uncharted territory. The last time I waited in an online queue, I was buying concert tickets, but at least I got Cease to Metallica out of it. Skate is giving me no such joy. It does not benefit from being an online-only live service. It has new priorities, like selling $25 clothing ensembles. To pass the downtime, I played a bit of the existing Skate trilogy, all of which are parked on my Xbox courtesy of backwards compatibility and will work just fine offline today, tomorrow, and in 10 years' time. In a deeply unfortunate twist, playing the new Skate is regularly just as annoying as not being able to play it. Every part of Skate has been corporatized and Disneyfied, from art style to attitude. Remember the authentic human characters that accompanied your skater as you progressed through the story modes of the old games, who would blurt in sympathy as you broke every bone in your body? Well, forget anything like that.
Holy cow, oh my god.
Your filmer in the new Skate is an AI app called V.
My name is V. I am an app designed to be your virtual guide.
Who just may be the single worst video game character I've ever encountered. V's dialogue is beyond nauseating and is delivered in a faux robotic fashion that makes it doubly awful.
Vocab education refresher. Footy is short for footage.
It's essentially a simulation of AI slop, mining 35-year-old LL Cool J songs for quips even my mum would wince at.
Your female parent said, knock those objectives out.
Here's a good one. I taught Izzy the finer points of skating the ramps up here. Such a froth and grom.
Sadly, the human cast is no better. They're saddled with an inauthentic, overwritten script stuffed with cringeworthy sentences no person would ever say aloud, and lines I'm not even sure the voice actors quite understood before reading.
That was crazy! You shredded the beep out of old Bonsky.
Who says the word beep instead of cursing, even mildly? Everything that's even a fraction edgy or mature has been masked under layers of corporate coddling, like those soft, squishy curves that stop toddlers from splitting their heads on the corner of a kitchen bench.
The Dax acquired some lumber and went nuts with the wooden whoop-de-doos here. You know why they're called that? Because some old guy said they make you yell, whoopee, when you ride or air them. Knowledge.
You can, I guess, mute the dialogue, but that doesn't make it immune from criticism. Besides, the dialogue is also just one part of a cavalcade of complaints I have about the current state of Skate. Why was it so important, for instance, to concoct an in-universe explanation for the fact that nobody in Skate's new city of San Vansterdam can suffer any injuries?
If you're wondering why your slams don't hurt, you can thank a local startup called Impromptu for that.
Making skaters invincible thanks to the medical miracle of Impervatech doesn't make Skate better. It just feels like it's here because some suit was worried about the optics of children playing a game where people tossing themselves off buildings might have to be depicted as being seriously hurt.
Hurt much? No? Impervatech.
As a result, Skate's traditional post-wipeout x-rays and bone-snapping sound effects are totally gone, as are injuries, grime and wear on skaters and their boards. My sons began playing the original Skate games from about the moment each was old enough to hold a controller. I vividly remember them cackling uncontrollably at how many bones they could break as their characters tumbled and fell, their skeletons squelching and shattering. Skate 2025 seems totally toothless in comparison. It treats its audience like babies.
Okay, for the next bit, I'm supposed to read from this. Thank you for trusting Impervatech.
Skate's art style doesn't do it any favours either. The stylized approach may be crisp and colourful, but it's also vanilla and boring. The doe-eyed sim-style character models do absolutely nothing for me. I don't like their plastic beards or their chunky pants, and I certainly don't like being surrounded by them at all times, particularly when other players have a habit of visibly stuttering, lagging, or even floating as they move by. It's also a complete eyesore having huge clumps of people constantly clipping into each other. I don't know where I start and everyone else begins. There's also a real sterility to the city that the simplified visual style can't shake. Plain walls, impossibly clean surfaces. San Vansterdam just isn't a place that feels legitimate or lived in. It feels fake because it looks fake. There's not enough granular detail or texture. Hell, sometimes there's no texture at all, like when the roads appear to glitch and turn into a featureless, uniformly black surface. That happens a lot. The map is a largely flat downtown area, broken up into 4 quadrants that aren't particularly distinct from each other. You can skate across it in about 2 minutes. There's no zany hill descent or dam drop or wild spillway, nothing I'm drawn to gravitate towards like I am in Skate 2's San Van Alona. There was a sense of reward in finding a neat place to skate in the original games because the maps primarily felt like cities, not skate parks. The DNA of San Vansterdam is that everything is skate park adjacent. Top of a building, skate park. Inside a church, skate park. At this point, designing the city to be an unrestrained skate utopia just feels like too much, like it's a big Tony Hawk's Pro Skater level instead of a city you can skate in. It's weird when the original Skate games are the opposite of that. Speaking of pro skaters, don't expect to see any of those old faces in the new Skate. This obviously means no cleverly edited live-action intro montage packed with recognisable skaters and silly situations. Starting with a memorable short film may have been a tradition for the original trilogy, but that idea appears to have been firmly kick-flipped to the curb. More disappointingly, however, it also means no pro challenges, no real-life skaters to meet and speak to you as you progress through what constitutes the campaign at the moment. As it stands right now, the campaign feels weak. Part lengthy tutorial, part service game treadmill, where miscellaneous skating tasks are rationed out every 24 hours. Some of these are satisfying enough, and they do reward a certain degree of mastery of Skate's classic controls.
That is indeed a proper car.
There are stints of Skate where I'm absorbed to some degree, sure, but there's surprisingly little to it right now, particularly considering how immediately the daily challenges have begun to repeat. In terms of solo content, there are no competitions, no death races, no games of Skate, no magazine cover shoots or sponsorship challenges. The campaign missions, or tours here, are really just a series of lessons, or mobile game-inspired fluff like skating through some basketball-sized bird poo. It's clumsily paced too, since the only way to unlock new tours is to complete an extensive set of goals from the trick challenges that are refreshed on a daily basis. That is, many hours after completing a daily objective that required me to do multiple manuals, I found myself sleepwalking through a separate tutorial mission about how to manual.
Excellent, you've got it.
The whole progression loop is simply geared around collecting enough in-game currency to open loot boxes. Want to rank up? You need to return to the store to trigger that. Hey, while you're at the store, why not open some boxes of crap with all your in-game credits? I didn't bother opening any of them for the first few days because I wasn't interested, but I eventually realised the boxes also contain additional reputation points that are important for levelling up your neighbourhood rank and unlocking new fast travel spots, so you basically have to open them. This means sitting through the unskippable congratulations animation for each individual one that I assume has been meticulously modelled for maximum poker machine potency every single time. Which boxes? These ones, just past all the premium items you need to hand over real money for instead. Wait, why are there bundles of items priced at 1,600 skate bucks when skate bucks are available in increments of 500 and 1,050? Oops, guess you'll have to buy more than you need. It's Insidious and I hate it. I hate it in other games and I hate it in this one. I'm not young and immune to the caveats of free-to-play gaming. It makes it feel like a service in a store first and a game second. Hell, maybe that's true. After all, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. That's what my female parent used to say.
You shut that down. The Dax will dig the footy. That was nuts, and they ain't allergic.
If I said there weren't times when playing the new early access Skate when I found myself hooked on clearing a task or engaged in executing an impromptu line I challenged myself to make, I'd be lying. Thanks in large part to its smooth controls, it is true that cruising around in Skate does have the capacity to tickle the dusty part of my brain that still delights in booting up Skate 2 every now and then, just to turn back the clock, noodle around and unwind. However, these moments are fleeting. Skate is just so aggressively different in tone, style and spirit from its ancestors that any brief trance I found myself in was constantly broken by its embarrassing dialogue, trite art style and sterile mobile game style progression. Arming Skate with a faithful facsimile of the incredible feel of the old games means little if the rest of it is constantly turning me off. Unfortunately, Skate is so fundamentally irritating and unsatisfying in every other way that there is currently just no appeal here whatsoever for me to play this over any of the originals, old and creaky as they may be. I don't know what Skate will look like in 12 months' time, or when it's no longer in early access, but it's left a horrible first impression. The Fortnitification of Skate may well be the most disappointing thing to happen to skate culture since razor scooters. For more reviews, check out our verdicts on Dying Light the Beast and Silent Hill F. And for everything else, stick with IGN.